Okay, let's jump right into this explainer by tackling a multi-million-dollar problem that literally haunts almost every major enterprise today. I'm talking about the immense cost and, honestly, the utter chaos of manual data entry. Just imagine mountains of messy paperwork. You've got scanned invoices covered in coffee stands, fuzzy smartphone photos of medical claims, dense multi-page legal contracts that look like they were faxed back in 1998, and all of it needs to be processed perfectly. Well, today we're going to see how enterprise-grade AI automation steps in to cure this massive headache. We are going to trace the entire life cycle of a single chaotic document as it gets transformed into pure, actionable data. Now, to make this complex, staff-level AI system design a bit more digestible, we're going to follow a really clear roadmap today. First, messy documents and high stakes. Second, designing the ML pipeline. Third, a multimodal extraction deep dive. Fourth, the confidence gate. Fifth, compliance and RAG integration. And finally, number 6, measuring system success. Let's get into it.
Part 1. Messy documents, high stakes. Let's look at where the chaos actually begins.
So this is our inciting incident. The sheer scale of these unstructured documents is staggering. We're talking about processing millions of these pages daily, or at least monthly. At this kind of volume, having humans process everything is just way too slow and painfully expensive. But here is the real catch. Mistakes cost millions. A single misread digit on a financial invoice or a complex medical claim, that can result in massive overpayments or worse, immediate legal compliance issues. Because of those stakes, our core system goal is incredibly clear. We have to ingest, parse, and extract structured fields from these semi-structured documents. And we've got to do it with absolute compliance, perfect downstream utility, and highly accurate confidence scoring. We aren't just doing basic text reading here. We are literally turning raw, unpredictable chaos into structured, reliable truth. Moving on to part 2, designing the ML pipeline. How do we actually automate the impossible? Well, let's step right onto the automated machine learning assembly line. The journey basically follows 4 high-level steps. First up, ingestion, taking in the raw file, whether that's a massive PDF or a terribly compressed JPEG. Second, extracting the crucial fields and tables. Third, validating that data against strict business rules, like making sure the individual line items actually sum up to the invoice total. And finally, routing the outcome based on exactly how confident the AI is in its own work. If we trace the architecture from end to end, a really elegant, continuous narrative thread emerges. The document moves from initial classification right through field and table extraction and straight into validation. And notice how the system eventually splits? It creates this continuous loop where human review feeds right back into the model registry to retrain the AI, while the finalized, validated data moves swiftly along to our downstream systems. All right, part 3, multimodal extraction deep dive. This is where we go way beyond just reading text. There's a totally critical technical trade-off at play here. Pure natural language processing, or NLP, reads text exactly like you or I would read a novel, left to right, top to bottom. But an invoice isn't a novel. Pure NLP completely loses the spatial structure and fails miserably on tabular data. That's exactly why we have to use a multimodal approach. The AI has to understand the text, the spatial layout, and the visual cues all at the exact same time to truly grasp what the document means. To pull this off, the AI's eyes rely on 3 distinct features. It looks at the text for OCR tokens, it looks at the layout for spatial bounding boxes, literally where a specific word physically sits on the page, and it looks at visual cues like company logos or physical ink stamps. It just goes to prove that an invoice total's meaning depends heavily on where it sits on the page and what label is sitting right next to it, not just the number itself. Which brings us to part 4, the confidence gate. This is all about objective self-gradient. So, we've reached the real climax of our document's journey. We have to ask a tough question. What happens when the AI just isn't sure? Because inevitably, it's going to encounter a totally weird new vendor layout or a terribly compressed scan. Think of the system as a strict bouncer at a really exclusive nightclub. If the AI's confidence in an extracted value is low, what's our failsafe to protect the business? The logic here is incredibly strict, and honestly, it has to be. The system calculates a confidence score for every single field it extracts. High confidence predictions, those are auto-accepted, without a human ever laying eyes on them. But any low confidence field triggers an immediate reroute to a human expert. That human gets a pre-filled UI to easily correct the error. And here's the magic. Those specific corrections actively retrain the model so it's smarter the next time around. So the golden rule for this entire architecture? Confidence-gated automation. We never ever blindly automate financial or legal fields. The AI is totally empowered to rapid-fire process the easy, highly predictable stuff, but it's deeply constrained by its own objective self-awareness of uncertainty.
Okay, part 5, compliance and RAG integration. Let's talk about storage and utility.
Once our data safely passes that confidence gate and is fully validated, what do we actually do with it? Well, first and foremost, we've got to remember that this isn't just raw text anymore. We are dealing with highly sensitive, personally identifiable information, or PII. These documents contain heavy financial and legal data that demand true enterprise-grade encryption, strict access restrictions, and rigorous data residency compliance. Security literally has to be baked into every single layer. Now, this beautifully structured data powers dual downstream outputs. On one hand, the data gets indexed for cutting-edge retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. This is amazing because it means users can literally chat with their documents, ask complex questions, and get answers cited directly back to the original scan. On the other hand, the system is simultaneously generating a totally immutable audit trail for regulators, tracking exactly which region of the document produced which specific data field. But, a healthy AI system requires constant vigilance to manage key technical trade-offs. We have to actively avoid template overfitting. That's when the AI memorizes one specific vendor's invoice so well that it completely breaks down the second a new vendor comes along. We also have to ensure our extraction fairness spans evenly across all document formats, varying scan qualities, and even different languages.
Finally, part 6, measuring system success. This is where we prove the ROI.
We've built this incredible pipeline, but how do we prove it's actually working for the business? Well, the North Star metric here isn't just raw accuracy. It's the straight-through processing rate, or STP. This tells us the exact percentage of documents that required absolutely zero human touch, from initial ingestion all the way to final payment, while still perfectly meeting our strict accuracy requirements. And here is the ultimate takeaway to keep in mind. You want to maximize that STP rate, but at a fixed auto-accept error bar. Why? Because you can always fake higher automation simply by lowering your standards and accepting a bunch of mistakes. True success in intelligent document processing is raising your straight-through processing rate while strictly maintaining your error bar. Having good confidence calibration is the core lever that lets you push that automation up safely. So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a rather provocative thought. If you can transform millions of messy, unstructured pages into compliant, searchable data and literally chat with your vast archives through RAG, how will confidence-gated AI redefine your company's most tedious workflows tomorrow? It's not just about saving time, it's about unlocking the hidden intelligence trapped inside your paperwork. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. I'll see you next time.